Welcome to Southern Life. On today's video, we're going to look at the top 10 cities worth moving to in 2025. We're going to look at large cities and medium-sized metropolitan areas that offer safe and great places to live. This list is made for millennials and young people looking for a great place to live, a city that's fun, clean, but most importantly safe, and that has opportunities for somebody starting out fresh in life. After traveling across the United States, being to 37 states in the last 4 years, this is my list of the places I would recommend. Number 1 is San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio is one of the most affordable cities you can live in that isn't absolutely dangerous. Despite the fact San Antonio is affordable, it is considerably much safer than other affordable cities. On today's video, we're not going to recommend any cities that have high homicide rates or high overdose death rates. We want young people to move to cities where they're going to have a future, not where they're going to be engulfed by violence. There are definitely plenty of quiet and safe options in the San Antonio area. That being said, San Antonio has 1.5 million people, being the 6th largest city in the United States by population. Any city that size is definitely going to have some sketchy areas. San Antonio is known for having one of the best food scenes in the United States. I recently had some Uber passengers that moved from San Antonio to Sarasota, and they told me that the job opportunities there are better, so is the affordability of housing. The only thing they told me they missed about living in Florida was being near the beaches. Now, when a city is this affordable, most people are going to have questions about why it's so affordable. For one, San Antonio is 2 hours from the US-Mexico border. A lot of people are afraid of living that close to the international border. And the other issue here is that the city is predominantly Hispanic, which means that poverty is the overwhelming majority of the demographics. San Antonio is not a wealthy city. That makes San Antonio affordable, and it also means that the people here are not presumptuous. One of the things that people tell me the most that they like about San Antonio is just the vibe and the way people interact here. It just seems like people here are just down to earth, unlike other places where people think that there's more of a class distinction among people. As any city in Texas, it has great infrastructure and easy access to other large cities like Houston and Austin. Anything north of San Antonio is one of the fastest growing areas in the United States. I like San Antonio more than Austin. For one, it's more affordable. 2, it seems less crimey. And 3, I do believe that with the whole hipster vibe going on in Austin, it's absolutely toxic, fake, and San Antonio just feels like a more genuine city. Based on everything I had heard on the media and entertainment, I had always assumed that Austin was a far better city, but after seeing both of these cities in person, I personally aim more towards San Antonio than Austin because of the genuineness and the authenticity of the city. I feel like Austin is really overrated. Number 2 is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. With over 300,000 people, it is the 68th largest city in the United States, but it feels a little bit bigger than that because it's got an incredible large downtown district. The skyline and urban core of this city is just incredible. There is so much to see in this city. It really feels a lot bigger than that. I've always felt that the people I've met from Pittsburgh were intellectual, smart, decent people. It doesn't have a trashy vibe like other places. The landscape of this city is phenomenal. It's a gorgeous city, but of course everything isn't perfect with Pittsburgh. The cost of living here in a good area is substantially larger than other places its size. For example, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in the suburb of Cranberry is going for over $2,400 a month. And the crime rates for the actual proper Pittsburgh are pretty horrendous. Their homicide rate is pretty high. If you're moving to Pittsburgh, you're probably going to want to live in one of the nicer districts or somewhere in the outskirts of Pittsburgh, not right in the urban core. The Strip District is one of my favorite neighborhoods in the United States. You can see the skyline in the distance. It's packed with people going to restaurants, bars, and nightlife. This really is an incredible city. The mountainous landscape and topography of Pittsburgh means that neighborhoods are just a little bit more densely packed than in other cities its size, which gives the city a more full feeling. It really feels like a much larger city than what it actually is because of the topography of the landscape here, making businesses look more packed, streets look more full, and of course parking more difficult. The topography of Pittsburgh is definitely a little bit challenging, but I think that's what makes the city feel full and full of life. In 2021, the homicide rate in Pittsburgh was still lower than Nashville and Dallas, about 2 times the national rate, which is kind of on the high end, but not on the extreme high end, making Pittsburgh kind of like any other city in the United States for crime rates, just above the national average. Now, you do have to consider that in this region of the country, you have cities like Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, that are much more dangerous. So compared to other cities in this region of the country, Pittsburgh is superior when it comes to safety. So despite the fact that overall it's above national average, when you compare it to other cities in this region of the country, it's coming out pretty good. But overall, I feel like Pittsburgh's worst days are behind it, and moving forward, the city is only going to improve. For people who like nature and scenic beauty, the outskirts of this city are packed with adventure and exploration. It really is an incredible region to live in, but it is significantly more expensive than many of the other cities we're going to talk about on today's video. But keep in mind that on today's video, while I'm going to avoid good cities like San Francisco that are extraordinarily expensive, we do have to kind of keep it reasonable on the price range. Pittsburgh is going to be on the upper end of the price range for today's video, but it has to be mentioned because there's enough jobs and opportunity here where those price tags could be affordable. It's getting to the point where it's difficult, but it's not quite there yet. It's definitely economically challenging to live here, but you get so much in return that it's actually worth it. Now, San Francisco, California's homicide rate is less than half of Pittsburgh, so it's considerably a safer city. Incomes here are almost 2 times higher than Pittsburgh as well. So you have better incomes, you have better safety, but the cost of living in San Francisco is absolutely astronomical, and it just isn't reasonable for young people to live in a city this expensive. I think we saw with COVID what happens when a place is so expensive. It's a lot more vulnerable to economical changes, and that's why many people had to leave San Francisco. Once the jobs went away, everybody had to move out of the city. They just couldn't afford the astronomical cost of living here. Despite what you've heard on social media from politically aimed propaganda, San Francisco is a great American city. The issue is that to live in this great American city, you gotta have an amount of money that it's just literally impossible for most young people today. A very small 2-bedroom apartment in the San Francisco area is gonna run you clear over $3,000 a month. And don't get it twisted, San Francisco is an incredible city. It's safe, it's got great jobs, it's got great opportunities, but I think a city this expensive isn't realistic for young people. Number 3 is Raleigh, North Carolina. This city is extraordinarily safe and has great suburbs. In these suburbs, you can find a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment for something like $2,300 a month. We're talking luxury apartments in new suburban areas. If you do a 1-bedroom, you should be able to check out for less than $2,000. These are beautiful, clean suburbs. The vibe here is incredible. People are friendly. People try to stay healthy and active. It really has a good, positive feel to it. Raleigh's downtown is clean and beautiful, and while it isn't as impressive as, let's say, Charlotte, North Carolina, it's a whole lot safer and cleaner. The area around Raleigh really is the best place to live in North Carolina for a few reasons. A lot of people always say the beaches and the mountains are kind of close to each other, but in reality, you're not going to have time to do none of that crap. I mean, they're really far from each other. It's just the way people in North Carolina like to make believe that they're still in Florida, but they're not. Bless their heart, they don't know any better. But overall, Raleigh is a very safe city, much safer than all the other surrounding cities in this region of the country. Raleigh, North Carolina has some great up-and-coming neighborhoods and districts that have a more genuine and authentic vibe than other competing cities like Austin that to me feel kind of fake. One of the most important things that I want to stress in my video today is that young people need to put themselves in cities where they're going to be safe. You don't want to put yourself in a city that's crime-ridden, full of debauchery and lawlessness. you probably want to put yourself in a good environment. There are definitely more affordable cities in North Carolina like Charlotte, but if you want to move to a crime-ridden crap hole, good for you. If you want to live in a clean, safe city in North Carolina, Raleigh is it. The price tag is significantly higher, but at the end of the day, you get what you pay for. And if you want a better quality city, it's going to come with a higher price tag. Number 4 is Phoenix, Arizona, the 5th largest city in the United States, approaching 1.7 million people. This is a great city for shopping, things to do. Not only is Phoenix a fairly safe city for the size, but many of the adjacent suburbs also have some of the best crime analytics in the United States. When I say crime analytics, I'm referring to homicide rates. We're not talking about property crime or theft or all those, well, more tangible items of crime. We're talking about real crime analytics. The chances of you being a victim of a homicide in Phoenix or its suburbs is among the lowest in the United States, which means that as a general rule, Phoenix is one of the safest large cities in the United States. Does that mean everything is perfect in Phoenix? No. There's a lot of property crime here. There's a lot of theft. There's a lot of credit card fraud and finesse. It's definitely a scammy city. People here like to wear expensive name brands, and all that comes with a premium price tag. Phoenix is somewhat of a crime hub for these types of more sophisticated crimes, so in some ways Phoenix will feel a little crimey, but the most important crime analytics, the homicide rates and the consumption rates, are fairly low compared to other cities. Due to the weather here, there's a lot of shopping malls and large indoor places you can enjoy, and that kind of also makes it a tempting place for people to spend more money than they can afford, especially considering that jobs in this area don't seem to be the best. I mean, it's definitely not the worst, but it isn't the best either. It's a city for young people to pursue, but overall it's fairly safe. The city is overwhelmingly Hispanic, and that leads to it being a very safe metropolitan area from a homicide analytic and a consumption analytic. So it also means that you have other types of crimes that are more prevalent among the Hispanic youth, like engaging in criminal frauds and organized crime rings and stuff like that. So it isn't the type of crime that's going to hit you with violence. It's the type of crime that's going to hit you economically. Because of its topography, the air quality in the Phoenix area is horrible. There's literally no air circulation here, so if you're asthmatic or have respiratory complications, this city will easily not be for you. One of the greatest things about the Phoenix area is the topography as well, in that you have some beautiful landscaping here. It's desert, but it feels like a tropical desert. Lots of palm trees, lots of beautiful scenic settings in the background. So if you're a nature lover or like to see natural settings, this city has a lot to offer. While in Phoenix, we tried finding the hoods and bad areas, and even after much effort, it was actually hard to find rundown districts or areas that looked unappealing. Overall, even if you're trying to find bad-looking areas, Phoenix is a gorgeous and beautiful city. Because of the heat, a lot of the stuff goes indoors, and sometimes Phoenix can feel a little bit empty for a city this large. I know Phoenix doesn't normally make these online lists, but if you look at analytics, its suburbs are always among the safest in the United States. And I think today safety is an important thing. You can't really enjoy living in a large city if it's absolutely crime-ridden. And cities like Phoenix offer people the opportunity to live in a large city without having to deal with large city crime problems that other cities are plagued with. A nice newer apartment in Scottsdale is around $1,600 if you go for a smaller floor plan, and that's fairly affordable for being on the West Coast. One of the reasons I love Phoenix is because of how tropical and luxurious it feels. There's a lot of new construction. It really feels like a nice, clean place. Combine these beautiful desert landscapes with incredible crime analytics, and you got a great place to live. But don't forget, this is still the desert. And like I said, there's also an air quality issue here, so this isn't exactly for everybody. This area has a lot of great upsides, but it's got a few downsides you need to look at as well. The desert weather definitely isn't for everybody. It's absolutely brutal, and I think a lot of the indoor activities here would kind of denote that being outside here can be kind of brutal during parts of the year. It definitely isn't for everybody. It's so bad that a lot of places will have garage parking underneath the buildings, or parking lots will actually have covered areas because your car will literally turn into an oven. The scenery of Phoenix is definitely captivating and beautiful, but it's also a very harsh climate that may not be fitted for everyone. This city is also very presumptuous, so if you don't like to dress up to par, you're definitely going to get some stares around here. People in this city like to dress flashy. I think the weather plays a huge role into the fact people are always in the air conditioner and trying to look fancy indoors because there's not too much to do outdoors here. So if you don't like dressing up fancy and looking up to par all the time, Phoenix may not be for you. Number 5 is Roanoke, Virginia, with 100,000 people and 315,000 in the metropolitan area. It is the 163rd largest metro in the United States. Now in 2023, with just 100,000 people, they had 31 homicides in Roanoke. That's a rate of over 30 per 100,000, making Roanoke more dangerous than Chicago, Illinois. The northwest side of the city in particular has a reputation of being awfully dangerous, where gunshots are normal to hear. But I will say this, overall, the cost of living here is fairly good. You can get a 2-bedroom apartment here for $1,400, and there just aren't that many places left in the United States where you can do that, considering the natural beauty that this area has to offer. Now, contradictory to my list's requirements, Roanoke's homicide rate is fairly high, and the consumption rates out here are pretty high as well. Those were two things that I said I wasn't going to include on this list. But young people do need affordability, and Roanoke offers that. Unfortunately, the trade-off with getting affordability is going to be, well, crime. Homicides, you can't go back from that one. And overdoses, you can't get back from that as well. Those are two terminally ill conditions right there. If you end up in that state, you can't go back. So it is kind of a high-risk option for crime and safety. But for those looking for affordability in the United States, there really aren't that many options. Despite the fact that analytics for crime here are through the roof, the perception of crime in the city, it doesn't really feel that crimey. Not gonna lie, I was actually pretty shocked when I pulled up these analytics for the murders here because the perception of this place really isn't that bad. It actually feels kind of calm and chill, so I guess there must be a side of Roanoke that I missed when I was there. Natural beauty is everywhere you look in this city, so maybe this perception of this is not a crime-ridden place might come from the natural setting that makes me feel nice and relaxed. Being from Florida, you just don't get to see the mountains that often, but the perception perhaps could be far from the reality. But at the end of the day, it is a beautiful city. The good news is that that was a record number for 2023, and in 2024, that rate fell by about half. If Roanoke is able to cap their homicide rate and bring it to a more reasonable number, then it could definitely be a city worth considering living in. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of young people, particularly from Florida, are moving to Chattanooga and Knoxville. I feel like Roanoke is a much cleaner, more well-lit, and just functional city than those two. Last time I was up in Chattanooga and Knoxville, all I saw was homeless people everywhere, garbage everywhere, abandoned buildings, and the cost of living in those two cities has gone up dramatically. So perhaps things haven't really gone well in Chattanooga and Knoxville, two cities that young people were moving to for affordability. Not as many people have moved into Roanoke, which means that I think it's a little bit less competitive here on the job market end, and also the cost of living here is more affordable. So I know that for now, a lot of young people continue to move to Knoxville and Chattanooga for affordability. If I was looking for an affordable package, I would seriously consider Roanoke over those two cities. You just don't see as much homelessness and vagrancy and crime visibly in the streets of Roanoke as you see in those two cities, which at this point have just become expensive for people moving there looking for affordability, ironically. I just feel like because not as many people have moved to Roanoke as those cities, it's kind of exempt from the effect that those cities have had. For those looking to buy, you can find a livable 2-bedroom house here for less than $160,000. A 3-bedroom house on half an acre for $115,000 with a pretty decent mountain view. Right in Roanoke, this beautiful brick Cape Cod for $225. Notice that a lot of these houses are pending, so the real estate market is moving up here. Number 6 is Houston, Texas. Like Pimp C said, the cost of living in Texas is dope. I've been driving Cadillac since I was 14. It really is extraordinarily affordable to live in Houston. Overall, Houston's homicide rate isn't the worst for a large U.S. city, but over the last year or so, crime has been increasing in Houston. Particularly the southwest side of the city seems to have an awful lot of shootings. In halfway decent suburbs like Katy, Texas, to the west of Houston, you can get a 2-bedroom apartment for like $1,500 a month. That's considerably cheaper than what it would cost in a place like Florida. Texas is simply known for having good jobs for those willing to work hard, and Texas is also known for affordability, and that's probably what a lot of young people in the United States need right now. The state of Texas is known for highway infrastructure, and if you move to the Houston area, you'll be able to take advantage of a large city that doesn't have that much traffic. There's cities here in Florida with a fraction of Houston's population, but with 10 times more congestion. Houston really has an incredible infrastructure, and that makes navigating the city a breeze. Now, Houston isn't exempt from the growth in prices and cost of living, but in some ways, it's a lot better than other parts of the country. You may have heard the saying, everything's bigger in Texas, and one of the biggest things in Texas is contamination. In the Houston area, particularly the eastern side of the city, contamination is horrendous, and if you have respiratory problems, you could die here just from the amount of contamination in the air. It isn't that the air doesn't move here like in the mountains, it's just that there's so much contamination that you could literally choke to death from all of the fumes that are in the environment. Texas doesn't seem to care too much about the environment, and I guess one of the downsides of living in Houston is that there's visible contamination. If you have asthma, stay the crap out of Houston. On my last visit to Houston, I literally talked to somebody in a restaurant who was telling me that they're going to be moving out of the Houston area because they're asthmatic and they can't stand the fact that they're always sick from all the contamination. Particularly from Baytown all the way down to Galveston, the contamination is absolutely unreal. Here in the state of Florida, our waterways are actually more expensive and nicer areas people want to live near, but that's not the case in Texas. If you want to be bougie rich and have your own McMansion one day, there isn't anywhere easier in America to do it than the Houston area. For $500,000, you can get a 4-3 in the Houston area. These are like 3,000 square foot homes. For less than $900,000, you can get an almost 5,000 square foot castle in Houston. For $2.7 million, you can get yourself over 11,000 square feet and over 7 bathrooms. Like Lil Wayne said, you could poop all day. So if you're a young, professional, and ambitious scammer, Houston could be the first place in America for you to consider moving to. You can have that McMansion you always dreamed about. One of my favorite things about Houston is its impressive skyline. It is the 4th largest city in the United States with 2.3 million people, and the downtown area is definitely impressive. Without a doubt, the skyline, downtown area, and interstates of Houston makes it feel like one of the most incredible and most American cities in the United States. It really is an impressive city to live in, especially if you're going to be working within the downtown area. Houston is an iconic city. It's also known for its music scene. It's got a great food scene as well. Overall, Houston's known for warm weather. It isn't a frigid, iceberg up there in the Northeast or something like that. It's definitely warmer weather. And of course, you can't forget the most important thing about Houston, Texas being the fact that people here like to lick your elbows. So if you move to Houston, you just got to watch out for that. Now, I don't know what's up with this thing in Houston, but anywhere you go in Houston, people are always like, hey, man, can I lick your elbow? And I don't know why they do that, but you just got to watch out for that, bro, because they be doing that. It's kind of weird, low-key kind of suspect, but dudes in Houston, you got to watch out, man. Everywhere you go, man, can I lick your elbow, dog? I'm like, bro, we don't really do that in Florida. But anyways, every city has its own little quirks and features, like Doug DeMuro would say. And that's just one of the weird things about Houston, Texas, man. People out there licking each other's elbows. First of all, it's kind of suspect. Second, kind of nasty. I don't know why they doing that, but just watch out for Houston, because it seems like anytime you get out somewhere, somebody like, yo, let me lick your elbow, dog. That's some weird crap, dog. And if they try doing this to you, bro, you just got to be like, hey, bro, somebody's already licked my elbows like 3 times today, so don't ever tell them it's suspect, because they will get offended, bro. I'm talking about these dudes are willing to throw hands over this. So if somebody in Houston offers to lick your elbows, just be like, hey, bro, somebody's already done it like 3 times today, and then they might back off. You know what I'm saying? But like, if you tell them it's suspect or weird or creepy, dog, they will freak out and they will get violent with you, because that's just the way to get down in Houston, Texas, bro. And I don't really know why you're doing this down there in Houston, but hey, it's like a local thing, bro. And just be very careful not to tell people that it's suspect or that it's weird or creepy, because like I said, they will throw hands about this. That's the only real like thing I can say about Houston that kind of creeped me out. So just watch out for the elbow lickers, and if you can keep out of if you can watch out for that little problem right there, then everything else about Houston straight. That's like the one thing about Houston I've always been like, okay, that's kind of weird, but again, don't tell them it's weird because they will freak out though. There's even a song out of Houston, Texas. One dude talking about he's licked 84 elbows or something like that. No, I don't really know what's up with the culture in Houston. Like y'all gotta figure this out in the comment section. Get at me and just, am I missing something here? Like, cause I didn't really understand this, bro. But I got off at a gas station. Some dudes like, yo, man, look at my elbows, dog. I was like, hey, bro, I ain't doing that, bro. Like, real talk. Like, we don't get down like that in Florida. But anyways, no place is perfect. That's like the one thing you got to watch out for in Houston. Man, they even got rap songs about this thing. I was in Houston. I heard this dude talk about, man, we even got songs about elbows. Like, bro, I ain't trying to do all that. I was at this intersection right here, and I can overhear the dudes that were in the car next to me. They had their windows down, and they was talking about hitting a lick or licking somebody's elbows or something. It was like, man, we're going to get a lick on these elbows, dog. And I was like, why you trying to do that, though? That's nasty. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a weird elbow licking culture. But if I'm missing something and you're from Houston, you can explain all that to me in the comments, because I was just about confirmed that these people out here licking elbows. Number 7 is Columbus, down in Ohio. Now, there's not as much culture going on here as there is in Houston. This definitely isn't a hip and fun place to be. It's just a place to exist. If you're looking to rent for $1,500, you can get a 1-bedroom apartment in a nice suburban area. That's like a newer construction, what they call luxury apartments. So if that's what you get for $1,500, if you're more able to compromise and something more normal, you can definitely do cheaper than that. But even then, a 2-bedroom apartment here is $1,700, and we're talking high-end brand new apartments. So Columbus is definitely affordable. In 2024, there were 124 homicides in Columbus, but with a population of over 900,000 people. That means that the homicide rate here is just above the national average. So when a large city's homicide rate is just above the national average, that means it's a fairly safe large city. Now, Cincinnati and Cleveland, the 2 other large cities in Ohio, their homicide rates are between 30 to 45 per 100,000, about 4 times more dangerous than Columbus. That means that Columbus is the safest large city in Ohio. And while Ohio's large cities have tremendously high overdose death rates and homicide rates, Columbus is somewhat safer. I'm not going to tell you Columbus is a glamorous looking city, because it ain't. But even during the winter, it seems to have decent nightlife. It's comparably safe to other cities in the region. All that makes Columbus an attractive option for people looking to move to Ohio for affordability. Of course, like any city this size, it's going to have bad neighborhoods, but for the most part, it's a fairly good city to live in for affordability. Now, when I say for affordability, I mean it's not a glamorous place. It's just affordable. There's decent jobs, and all that makes living in Columbus, Ohio somewhat of a bargain, if you don't mind the fact that the city kind of looks a little trashy. Columbus is the 15th largest city in the United States by population. It actually has a population larger than San Francisco. So let's just quickly compare what you get in Columbus with less than half the price if you're renting, and probably, I don't know, a fifth of the cost if you're buying. Now, incomes in San Francisco are probably like 2.4 times higher than Columbus, if not closer to 3. But that's just give you a price comparison that things here in Columbus, Ohio cost practically less than half. You got some gray skies, you got some grass overgrowing into the highway even though it's winter. Notice how this road is practically almost empty. It just kind of looks depressing and run down. I don't know why there's grass growing on the interstate. It's just a fairly depressing, bad vibe. Everything here looks gray and kind of depressing, kind of abandoned and empty. A similar street scene in San Francisco, blue skies, mountains, palm trees, kind of cleaner. There are more homeless people visible in San Francisco than Columbus, but let me tell you, not by much. One thing I notice about Columbus is that there's homeless camps practically everywhere, so the homeless situation in Columbus isn't a good one. The highways in San Francisco are a little bit busier, a little bit curvier, kind of more scenic and beautiful. So, when you compare the cost of living in Columbus to the cost of living in San Francisco, there's a few notable differences. In San Francisco, the houses are beautiful. They got mountain views. There's a lot of blue skies and beautiful mountain settings. Less garbage, less litter. Definitely the roads here don't have trees growing on them. So Columbus is definitely not a world-class city like San Francisco. But an apartment in San Francisco is going to be $3,400. An apartment twice the size of that in Columbus will be about $1,400. So the ratio of what you pay versus what you get, you can definitely stretch your money a whole lot further in Columbus, Ohio. Incomes, of course, are not going to be as high as San Francisco, not even close. But then again, that income versus your housing costs will be a comparably much better ratio, which means if you're looking to save money and have a future, you may not live in a world-class city like San Francisco, but at least you'll be able to save some dang money. So no, Columbus is not a world-class city like San Francisco, but somewhere out there is a 4-bedroom house for $270,000 with a 2-car garage and a good-sized lot, and it's a lot safer than Cincinnati and a whole lot safer than freaking Cleveland. And for the price, it's just 1 brick, you can get yourself your own trap house in Columbus. And after you flip a couple more for just $109,000, you can get a livable house in the hood for your baby mama and her grandma. Personally, I don't really suggest that young people move out into the hood and start a trap house, but if that's how low your expectations are, there ain't nowhere else more affordable to do it. I always recommend that young people get a good job, start saving some money, get a nice apartment in the suburbs, and try to pretend like they're going to have a successful life versus ending up in the hood trying to figure out if it was one of your neighbors that's player hating on you that pooped on your driveway or a random homeless person. But hey, if you're trying to save some money, there's a price to pay. Columbus is not glamorous, but it is slanderous. But if you're a millennial who's come to the conclusion you're just not going to amount to anything in your lifetime, consider moving to Columbus, Ohio and being around other people who also feel the same way. I guarantee you won't find another city this trashy with a lower homicide rate. I mean, if your expectations are low but you don't want to get murdered, this is the place to live. You can also practice safe hood living practices like not sleeping with dudes' baby mamas, dressing bummy and having bad hygiene so homeless people don't ask you for money. These and other trashy low-life practices will make sure that you can live in a horrendous but affordable neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio, and people won't realize there's actually something in your house worth stealing. And don't forget to always put your Starbucks and Chipotle bag inside of a Dollar Tree bag or Dollar General bag so your neighbors will think that you're going to the Dollar Tree every day for food and they won't catch on to the fact that somehow you're able to afford Starbucks. To throw off your neighbors to think that you're trashy too, you can make a music playlist combining Joe Exotic, Kid Rock, and Tech 9 and play that after 9:30 p.m. every single night. And you can always stage a domestic dispute even if you're single. All I'm saying is if you're moving to Columbus, you gotta look trashy. Don't come over here wearing all this fancy clothes and thinking it's a fancy city because people are going to figure out that you're a fish out of water. But always remember, Columbus may not be dangerous, but it is trashy. Number 8 is Providence, Rhode Island. Rhode Island is the safest state in the country by homicide rate. Your chances of being killed by a crackhead here are a third of the national average. Located right between Boston and New York City, living here gives you the convenience of being near large metropolitan areas. The population of Providence is around 190,000 people, and it hasn't been shrinking or growing. It's just kind of stale. It is the 139th largest city in the United States, with a population larger than Fort Lauderdale. A newer 1-bedroom apartment here will easily set you back $2,500 a month, and that is expensive, but you are in the Northeast near New York City and Boston, so this isn't an affordable region of the country regardless. But it's still cheaper than Boston and New York City. It's more of a normal size city. It isn't these gigantic cities with all these giant city problems. You are in Rhode Island, the safest state in the whole entire United States. There's plenty of the Puerto Rican and Latin American foods that you're used to in a city like Boston or New York City, but none of the crime. If you're not picky about housing, you can move into the Cilantro for less than $2,000 a month. You can get a 1-bedroom apartment. I don't know who named this small apartment the cilantro, but you know that was wrong. Whoever did that, come on, man. Like, you can do better than that. The cilantro model? Like, yeah, if you don't have any money, hey, you can live in the cilantro over here. It's the cheapest option in Rhode Island. You can live in the cilantro. While the name of that apartment isn't exactly the nicest, you get the idea. Es un cilantro. So, like, if you have a cilantro budget, you can end up in the cilantro. It's a one-bedroom apartment for less than $2,000 a month. That's a lot of money, but to live in an area like this, it's kind of a deal. The TV show Family Guy is based out of Rhode Island, so common sense would tell you that this is about the most bland and middle America place you could live in. For being in the Northeast, the practicality, location, and just general layout of the city is absolutely practical. I mean, in Boston, you're stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic all day long. Let's not forget that Rhode Island has a beautiful coastline. There's a lot of people with a lot of money there, so if you're crafty, you should be able to make some good money in a place like Rhode Island. There's a lot of benefits to this place if you want to be in the Northeast. And don't mind ending up inside the cilantro. I'm sure if you have a larger budget, you can end up in the pomegranate or some other fancier fruit. But hey, even if you have to end up on a low budget, the cilantro is made for you. The population density here is over 10,000 people per square mile, so it is definitely a very compact city. But with a population under 200,000 people, it's actually like the perfect sized American city. I really can't emphasize enough the practicality of this place. It really is perfect in a lot of ways. If safety is a priority for you, you simply can't beat Rhode Island. Number 9 is Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston White, South Carolina. With just under 160,000 people, this is the 170th largest city in the United States. Over the last few years, the South Carolina coastline has been growing tremendously, and for a lot of young people, this historic and iconic town could provide the lifestyles and opportunities that they're looking for. Today, gig work is a great way for people to make extra money. With limited parking and, of course, a very compact city core, many people going to enjoy the city's nightlife or out to town for the evening are definitely going to need some gig drivers, and this is said to be one of the best places in the United States to make some extra money as a gig driver. It's no surprise that today millennials are having to take up gig work more than ever, and this city provides a lot of great opportunities to do that. Unlike many of the cities on today's list, this is definitely not a boring destination, and while I'm not a fan of recommending South Carolina in general, this town really has a different distinctive vibe. It's a fun place with a lot of life, a lot of history, and it's a type of place where a young person can enjoy themselves while working and trying to carve out a future. The coastline here is beautiful. It isn't as scenic as other states like Florida, but it's still a freaking coastline with waterways, lots of islands, and the vibes are very chill, tranquil, and enjoyable. I personally consider this probably the only place in South Carolina I would ever want to live. 2-bedroom, 2-bath in a very desirable area here is going to run you about $2,500 a month. A small apartment in a desirable area will still be under $2,000. That's fairly expensive, but again, that's what you would expect for a touristy coastal city. Without a doubt, Charleston is one of the most beautiful cities in the South, incorporating beautiful architecture with coastal settings. There's few cities as captivating as this one. For those looking to buy, for about $600,000, you can get a fairly large home. Or for about the same amount of money for the down payment, you can get yourself a squatted freaking Silverado. Historic homes from the 1830s are now going for well over $12 million. And while this price tag may seem excessive, this is the ballpark of money that you want a small town to attract. This is real money. This is real wealth. And if this real estate market can attract those types of buyers, it means that people with a lot of money are willing to live here. Anybody knows that when people that have that kind of money want to live somewhere, then there's an incentive to be there. That's a good thing. It's just not everyday money that can buy this type of real estate. The fact that the prices have hit these levels only illustrates clearly the type of money that's moving into this area. But don't let this escalation of prices scare you. If you move a little bit further inland, for $500,000, you can get a very spacious home. So despite the fact that overall prices here are expensive, you can find affordable options. within the realm of new construction, desirable areas, and of course, luxury living. So it's affordable in comparison to other options. I do believe the market here is a little overvalued for some categories, but overall you do get what you pay for, so you are getting something in return. A beautiful historic coastal community with a lot more opportunities than other places. If you know what you're looking for and what price point you're at, you could do well here. Overall, South Carolina is not a safe state or a state that I would recommend to people, but this community is kind of an exception. There's also some important infrastructure here, both in roadways and of course in the marine transportation, so that makes this area attractive for industry as well. Number 10 is Wilmington, North Carolina. Noted in popular culture, this is the type of place your wife will probably dream of living in. With a vibrant and fun downtown district, this is the type of place millennials should probably be flocking to. With 130,000 people, this is not really a large city, but it does have enough suburbs to make it feel a little bit bigger than that. It is the 237th largest city in the United States, and the population has been growing steadily here. Being in the North Carolina coast, this is a popular destination for people looking to enjoy the beaches, and traffic congestion along the coastline can be very frustrating. Probably the biggest complaint this town gets is the traffic. This isn't just any coastline. I have to say that the coastline of North Carolina around here is in fact one of the most beautiful in all the East Coast. Not far from here, you also have Murder Beach, South Carolina, a very popular tourist destination for hood rats, gangsters, and thugs. If you qualify for Section 8, you can live in the projects for free out here. But if you want to pay for it, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath is going for $1,800 here, and that's brand new construction luxury apartment. So you have the projects, or if you want to pay for something nice, $1,800 gets you into a pretty decent place, and that's extraordinarily affordable for a coastal community with good beaches. In the fast-growing suburb of Leland, you can get a nice little house, 3-2, for $329,000, so there are affordable options out here. For those looking to buy, the best deals are going to be new construction in the outskirts, and that means a considerable drive through some crazy traffic to get to the beaches. But after all, it is kind of a coastal community, so the prices here are expensive. They aren't ridiculous, but they are going to reflect the fact that it's a beach town. On the downside, there are some of the sketchiest looking white people here that you'll find anywhere else. It seems like there's just a lot of white people here that are really sketchy. People watching is an attraction all to itself in this place. I mean, the people watching alone here is an attraction. I swear there were times where I felt like I was back in Florida. It's like a whole sideshow going on. The people here are kind of strange and peculiar. But other than that, Wilmington is a great option. You have beaches, you have beach vibes, you have tourism, you have a lot of great things going on for this area. It's affordable if you're out in the suburbs and the outskirts of the city. North Carolina is not an expensive state overall, so if you go far out enough, you can find affordability here. And this is an iconic city with TV shows like One Tree Hill. Somehow I forgot to get footage of the coastline here while I was up there, but it was a beautiful coastline, great beaches. I mean, not quite as good as Florida, but for being, in North Carolina, there are some beautiful waterways up here, absolutely gorgeous. This is a much more sustainable option than moving to a Florida city where you, just to be along the beaches, have to deal with all this huge amount of problems that we have here in Florida. This city is in North Carolina, a state that's a little bit more sustainable, a state that's a little bit more steady and not so chaotic as Florida. Now, Wilmington, North Carolina's homicide rate is more than twice the national average. It's actually more dangerous than Charlotte, North Carolina, a far larger city. As you saw in the video earlier, there are some housing projects and rough neighborhoods here, and the people here seem like they've smoked themselves into a third dimension of meth land. So obviously, if you're moving to Wilmington, you better be able to afford a nicer area like along the coast, Carolina Beach, or a nicer, newer suburb, and not end up kind of in the mix along heavy routes of traffic, areas that are more urban, because their crime is significantly higher than it needs to be for a coastal beach community. Fast-growing Murder Beach, South Carolina, just to the south, has the same exact problem. way too violent for being a coastal community. So while you get the relaxing coastal vibes, every once in a while the peace and tranquility of these coastal communities is disrupted by the sound of gunfires and baby mama screaming because Cantrell got shot in the foot, because he stepped on the foot of little angry Billy from some hick town up in North Carolina who came to the beach for the first time, and since he just turned 21, it's the first time he's drinking, and well, he doesn't know how to react to drinking, and boom, here's somebody shot in the foot. Because of course these communities along the coastline here are extraordinarily freaking dangerous, with no other explanation other than the fact that the people in these surrounding states don't know how to act. So it sucks for the people that live here full time that they got to deal with the, well, violence that comes with being adjacent to crappier parts in the deep south. So that is something to consider here. If you're looking for more safe options, then you got the cities in Florida, but that comes with a whole nother realm of complications. Overall, you can say that these are some nice beach communities, but they are somewhat violent. Alright everybody, that is today's video on the top 10 best places to live in the United States for 2025 for younger people looking for a better place to live. These cities are not the most dangerous, they're not the safest either, they're just cities that haven't gone completely to crap yet. If you know where I'm driving through on today's video, leave a comment and let me know if you know where exactly I'm at. I want to leave this last little scenery back here as a bonus for today's video. If you know where I'm at, what city this is, leave it in the comment section. I want to see how well you guys know the United States. Look at the vegetation, look at the vehicle's tags, look at the setting, and figure out exactly where the crap you are. And let me hear what you think about what this city is. Thank you guys so much for watching this 45-minute rant. Are these the absolute best places to live? I'm sure there's better places out there, but based on my understanding, these are 10 great places you can move to in the United States if you're looking to start a new life somewhere else. Unfortunately, it is getting expensive to live everywhere. That means you have to start looking at safety and other things like things to do, fun cities to live in. That right there is the first lightning strike of the first thunderstorm we have got here. It is the start of the rainy season in Florida, so I'll get you guys some weather videos soon. If there's any other city that you thought should have made, whoa, that's a lightning strike right there too, woo! If there's any other city that you think should have made today's video, please let me know in the comments. There's quite a thunderstorm brewing outside.